So you want to know how to introduce yourself in Maninka, or you want to ask someone for their name? You've come to the right place. I'm going to break it all down in this video. Inike nto kolman noye adama jalo di farapina. I'm the teacher and linguist behind Ankata, my initiative for creating media and resources for speaking and learning Manding. Are you new here? Think about subscribing. Specifically, I'm going to cover the following: asking someone for their name, giving your name to someone else, and then different kinds of variations in the ways that people do these sorts of introductions. Do you think I go a little bit fast in this video? There's a link in the description below that can give you access to a text, audio flashcards, and interactive exercises that go along with this and every other video that is a part of my Beginner Maninka online course. Otherwise, anta. When someone wants you to ask you your name, you will hear the following: itodi. That expression is made up of 3 words. The most important is to, which means name. Note, the word to may also be pronounced togo, toko, or tojo. All of these are considered to be different pronunciations of the same underlying word. They might seem radically different to outsiders, but for speakers of Maninka, they're basically just a question of accent. Next we have I, which you already learned as part of greetings. It means you in the singular. When we combine I and to, then we get a possessive noun phrase that simply means your name. The word di means how. So put all together, we have a single sentence that looks and can be broken down like this: itodi, meaning your name, how. Or more colloquially, what is your name? Itodi. When it comes to people, we can say that to means first name. That said, to is also the word that is used when you're talking about things in general, like the name of something. Before we cover how to respond to itodi, let's talk a little bit about last names. Last names might seem a little bit formal for Westerners, but they're an important part of social relationships in West Africa. In fact, people often start by asking you your last name. The word for last name is jamu, or si. If someone wants to ask you for your last name, they could simply replace to with jamu or si. For instance, ijamudi or isidi, meaning, what's your last name? Ijamudi, isidi. More typically, however, people will say something simpler by dropping the word di, meaning how. For instance, ijamu or isi, meaning your last name is ijamu, isi. In some cases, people ask for last names using the word dimang, which is derived from another word di, meaning pleasing, sweet, or good. This isn't the same word as di, meaning how. They're homonyms. That's because they're spelled the same, but they are distinct words. For instance, ijamu dimang, meaning your good last name is ijamu dimang. All right, so how do we respond to questions like itodi or ijamu? To respond, you only need to make 2 small changes. First, you switch the second person pronoun I to the first person pronoun ng. Second, you replace di with your name. For instance, nto Coleman, meaning my name is Coleman. Nto Coleman. In some cases, you may hear people insert le after to. For instance, nto le Adama, meaning my name is Adama. In this circumstance, le is what linguists call a topicalization particle. It adds emphasis or stress to the word that follows it. It's not required, but some people use it systematically. The equivalent of my name is can therefore be summarized as follows: nto le, meaning my first name is. Nto le Adama. When it comes to last names, people may respond using the same structure. Njamu or nsile, meaning my last name is. For instance, Njamu Jalo, meaning my last name is Jalo. Njamu Jalo. But oftentimes they'll use a simpler form. Plus last name, or literally me last name. For instance, Njalo, meaning I'm a Jalo, literally I or me Jalo. Njalo. If we combine this with what we learned a little bit earlier, then we have exchanges that might look like this. Itodi, ntole adama, ijamu, njalo, meaning, what's your name? My name is Adama. What's your last name? My last name is Jalo. Note, since you can now introduce yourself, you might be eager to say something like, I'm from America, or I'm from France. We're going to cover that down the road, hopefully if all goes well. The forms that we just covered are more or less standard forms in Maninka. That said, you might hear a few variations that result from different regional preferences and the fact that people don't always answer one another in full robot-like sentences. In terms of shorter variations, people will often simply drop di, meaning how, since it's implied. For instance, ito or ijamu, meaning what's your first name or what's your last name? Ito, ijamu. Alternatively, people often use another word, the contrastive particle do, that I covered in an earlier video about greetings extended. For instance, itodu, meaning, and your name? What is it? Itodu. Otherwise, depending on where you are in Manding-speaking West Africa, you might hear a range of regional variations where another word appears between to, or jamu, and di. For instance, ito kodi, or ito yedi, or even ito bedi, meaning, what is your name? That may seem like a lot. For now, stick with the standard Maninka form of putting nothing between to, or jamu, and di when it's a question. For instance, itodi. And when answering, insert le. For instance, nto le adama. Just know that you might need to be able to recognize all the possible forms that I just brought up. This is important because you might hear some variation in a single exchange. For instance, let's say someone asked me what my first name and my last name was. They might use nothing at all, and I'd be free to respond with nothing at all, or I could use any of the other options, le, ko, ye, be. For instance, nteri, itodi, ntoko adama, ijamu yedi, njamu le jalo, meaning, my friend, what's your name? My name is Adama. What's your last name? My last name is Jalo. All right, earlier I said that to means first name when we're talking about people, but when we're talking about it in general, it can just refer to the name of things in the world. This means we've picked up a new skill set. If we replace I or with the demonstrative pronoun ni, meaning this, we can now point at something and ask, what is this thing's name? For instance, ni todi, meaning the name of this is how, or more literally, this name how. Ni todi. Actually, now if we replace ni with another noun, we can ask for the name of a person or place, for instance. For example, so todi, meaning what's the town's name? So todi. Or moso todi, meaning what's the woman's name? Moso todi. Aiwa, did you like this video? Please give me a thumbs up. Did you really like this video and you want to help me keep making more free videos and resources for learning Manding? Think about becoming a patron. There's a link down in the description below. Note, folile, ko nye ika dembaya fola. Am ben kola.